Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. In this video I want to talk about long-term value in Raid Shadow Legends. You often see Raid referred to as a marathon and not a sprint, and there is some fundamental truth to that statement. However, I also see a lot of misconceptions about what actually constitutes long-term value when it comes to Raid, and in this video I want to examine that, and hopefully after watching this you will come up with a totally different idea of what value really is in Raid, and maybe in other fields as well. First, thank you Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video and for giving me this wonderful promo link. So if you need a new Raid account and you want some long-term value for that Raid account, then use this link down below in the description, there in the QR code. New account with Deacon Armstrong at the start, Uugo at 15, Tagoar at 20, Mausoleum Mage at 30. Just a wonderful start to the game, and for pushing that long-term value. But yeah, that long-term value. So I often see claims like this. If you don't open a gem mine, the gems you could have received from are gone forever. If you buy energy with gems before you reach level 60, some of the energy you could have received with those gems is gone forever. If you don't pick the most long-term champion from the promo code, you will forever be stuck with a weaker champion and you're like losing something, you're losing value. Well, you're definitely losing something. If you don't open the gem mine, yeah, then you're not getting those gems. But are you actually losing any value? Because fundamental to examining the long-term value is the opportunity costs. Opportunity cost is a term from economics. It refers to the potential profit you miss by not taking an opportunity. So we have an X amount of money to spend. We have an X amount of time to spend. We can spend it doing this thing or we can spend it doing that thing. And both of the things that we can choose, or the many things that we can choose, all of them provide us with some value. But some of them would provide us with something more than the others. So that's really the key. Like, if I open the gem mine now, then I'm spending my gems in that, but I could also be buying energy with those gems, for example, and then I could do something with them immediately. So in a way, I'm not gaining those gems from the gem mine if I don't open it now. But maybe I can gain even more things by spending the gems somewhere else. Like, that's the crux to understanding what's really valuable and what isn't. So if we take a deeper look at the gem mine, for example, the payback period for opening a gem mine, any level of gem mine, is 100 days. It costs 500 gems to open a level of a gem mine, and each level produces 5 gems per day. So it will take 100 days to produce those 500 gems. You will want to open it eventually, because then it's going to churn out gems for you forever and ever, but especially early on, you can get far more value from using your gems somewhere else. Especially the masteries of your first campaign farmer. So I see a couple of different types of advice. Some people say that, hey, open the gem mine as soon as possible, which is just so very wrong. Some people say that first open the masteries, then open the gem mine, which I actually think is also wrong. But it's a little bit better, because the masteries of your first campaign farmer are super important. They will allow you to progress much faster. So even though you're losing some gems, but you're actually gaining a lot more. And another thing that you want to open actually before the gem mine is the first level of sparring pit, because that is going to boost your rate of creating 6-star champions. And then having multiple 6-star champions means better progress in events, better progress in dungeons, better progress in clan boss, and all of those things in turn will give you stuff, including just more gems. And you are going to open that gem mine eventually when the time is right. The cost of not doing so immediately is actually quite clear, because it's just a number of days before you open the gem mine and that gems that you would have produced. And that is the gem value that you are losing. So you can think of it as paying that many gems in order to do stuff like masteries, to do stuff like getting more 6 stars. And you can quite quickly see that, hey, this is actually going to profit me far more to get those masteries, to get that sparring bit going, than to get the gem mine going early. And in fact, on my latest account, I just recently opened the 3rd level of gem mine, and I'd opened it on the day 28 of the account. So I spent 28 days doing some other stuff. That cost me X amount of gems, but I got far more value out of that. Another piece of advice that I sometimes see is do not use gems for energy until you reach level 60. Because energy cap in the game increases by +1 per level up to level 60. When your max energy cap is reached, it's 130. But reaching level 60 takes months. It's maybe like 2.5, 3 months of playing, even more if you're playing a little bit more casually. So let's say you have the option, you're at level 50, because each level takes more and more time. So level 50 is reached quite much faster than 60. So do you spend gems on energy and you get 120 energy, so you're missing 10 energy, sort of. You're losing that 10 energy. Or do you wait another 2 months? And when you start to think about it like that, the answer becomes quite obvious. The things that you can do with 120 energy, even 115 energy early on in your account, in specific cases like completing an event, completing a fusion, just getting important things done, far outweighs the loss of that tiny part of energy that you would get more if you were waited until level 60. So yes, you should absolutely spend gems for energy before you reach level 60. There's like no real question about it. Even though on a very superficial level, you would look at, hey, but I'm missing this 10 energy now. No, you're gaining so much more by spending now, improving your account, improving your teams, getting more and more rewards than waiting for months until you realize that, hey, I should have just spent. And another one of these, the new player codes. The current big question is Tuhanarak or Tholin, Desert Queen or Demon Slayer. Plarium brought Demon Slayer back and they extended it until the end of the year, so you can get Tholin for another 3 months. And yeah, well, there's Tuhanarak. Tuhanarak is a void legendary. It's super hard to get void legendaries. So it's not impossible to get Tuhanarak if you don't get it from new player code, and Tuhanarak can support your team all the way to the late game. However, Tholin is a phenomenal damage dealer. Tholin is easier to get. Tholin is a legendary, but he is just a regular force legendary, so much easier to get than a void legendary. Also, he's a DPS. There's a bunch of DPS around. You will get more DPS at some point, eventually, and Tholin can even be replaced. However, I have now played new accounts with both of these for more than a month. The other one more than 2 months, the other one a month and a half. And I can say that Tholin is clearly the superior choice. I don't feel terrible about picking Tuhanarak. I do like my Tuhanarak a lot. I like my account with Tuhanarak a lot. But if I had known what I know now, I would have picked Tholin. So while Tuhanarak outperforms Tholin in select encounters already early on, Tuhanarak has some really sweet things going with that passive cleanse and stuff, but Tholin just blasts through content. It will give the account faster progress. Faster progress means more resources, and it's just cascading. So you get more stuff, and you get even further levels, and you get further ahead, and the Tuhanarak player is never going to catch up. Never, ever, ever. So there won't be a point in time where, hey, very late game, look at this Tuhanarak is now so important that Tholin pales. No. Tuhanarak is still fun, so if you enjoy that playstyle, sure, go ahead by all means, but Tholin is the strongest current code. And here we forego some hypothetical very late game value for very tangible, fast account progression where we're just going to get so much more out of raid. And related to this, the debate about the starter champion. Well, there's not much debate about starter champion, really. Kayle is the strongest starter champion. I have played accounts with all of them. I have really wanted to make all of them work, but the others just are not as good. Actually, my second favorite is Elhain, because I like Elhain is pretty good at campaign farming. Elhain has a lot of AoE damage, and Elhain is just raw DPS from Elhain. I do like it, and when you don't want poison-based damage, then Elhain just blasts. And I like Elhain, even though Elhain doesn't really bring any utility. But Kayle is just better. But should you focus on leveling up your starter? That's a more interesting question. There's not much debate about that either, because people will say you first level up your starter, you book your starter, you get masteries on your starter is your farming champion, but not always, because now that there's Tholin as an option. So when there is a new player code that gives you a campaign farmer that is a better campaign farmer than the starter champions, even when unbooked, because you won't have a lot of legendary books, but an unbooked Tholin is a better DPS than a fully booked Kayle. Of course, now we're leveling up Tholin instead. We're buying the masteries on Tholin instead of Kayle. and Tholin will be bigger carry for your account than Kayle can be. You can still level up Kayle at some point. Kayle is still a fine champion, depending of course on what champions you happen to open and what options you will have, but you shouldn't always go with your starter champion, because sometimes you just might have a champion that will be better, even all things considered, even considering that you can't get all the legendary tomes for it. And yeah, so when you really start to think about long-term value, there is nuance. You have to take multiple things into account, and if you go with a very narrow view, you end up doing things that are actually not that great for your raid account. So yes, by not opening the gem mine first, there will be gems that will be forever lost. By using gems on energy before level 60, there will be energy that is going to be forever lost. But economics already can handle that. Just because you miss out on something doesn't mean that you can't gain something more in return, and that's where we compare the opportunity costs. And we can see that, hey, actually, even though I'm losing these things, by investing here, I'm going to benefit even more. And so will your raid account. Thank you for watching. Click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and a special thanks to all of my Patreon supporters, YouTube members and Twitch subscribers who make all of these videos possible.